Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Bangalore, and in this episode we will be looking at how to easily make compost at home. In an earlier video, I had covered an episode on composting. However, I have decided to make a new one which would give you all a step-by-step guide to making compost at home very easily. So folks, let us start composting. First and foremost, you would need a composting bin. You can buy a ready-made one from any online portal you want, or you can make one of your own. Any plastic bin like this would do. You can alter the size of the bin according to the size of your house. For independent homes, you could use a normal sized container like this and place it on the terrace. For apartment complexes, you can use a bigger container according to the number of flats in the apartment. For balcony spaces, a smaller bin would do. Alternately, you could also use earthen bins which would help with better airflow within the compost. So now let the drilling begin. So here you must always remember to make holes in your compost bin. Without holes, there will be no free exchange of air, which is very essential for a good compost, and also it allows the water or the slurry that is present in the compost, which is not necessary for the composting process, to drain out freely. Make sure that as a thumb rule, you use at least 10 holes in the compost bin. And very important is to make holes at the bottom so that the leachate that is present in the compost bin can easily flow out. Because if you have stagnating leachate in the compost bin, then it would not produce good compost. And it is not necessary for you to make holes in the lid of the bin. So after the holes are made, it is time for us to start the composting process. So for this purpose, we would need the nitrogen component and the carbon component plus water. Now the carbon components include dry leaves, paper, cardboard, hay, etc. The nitrogen components include grass clippings, green leaves, used tea leaves, coffee grounds, kitchen waste, to name a few. So the dry leaves that you see in front of you will be the carbon component that I will be using in my compost pile. And here I have a semi-composted kitchen waste. Next, we will be adding fresh kitchen waste that I had collected in the morning. So this kitchen waste comprises of some vegetable peels, some fruit peels, some used tea leaves and coffee grounds as well. So in addition to the dry leaves, I will also be using some paper and cardboard as carbon components. Any component that burns constitutes the carbon component. So if at all you have kids and they have a lot of paperwork that you want to just sell it off or you want to throw it away, you could rather use it in your compost bin. Additionally, you can also use hay that you find in your fruit cartons. So as a bedding base for redworms and other compost critters, I will be using newspaper. Use newspaper that has a matte look and which does not have a glossy surface. Do not use any glossy magazine covers as well. Using black and white newspapers is more preferable. The composting worms that eat your kitchen waste require a softer bedding surface. Hence use leaves, cardboards, shredded papers, etc. as its bedding surface. To improve the digestion of these redworms after they have had a very huge feast, what you can do is you can crush or you can grind a lot of these used eggshells and you can add them inside so that they can chew on them and they can improve their digestion. So guys, as a proportion, you would need to use around 70% of carbon elements and 30% nitrogen elements to keep your compost pile healthy and in turn reducing the nasty smell that emanates during the decomposition process. Now add all the components in layers. The bottommost layer, as you saw, would comprise of carbon elements, then add the nitrogen element and cover that again with carbon components. A sandwich layer of carbon, nitrogen, carbon is a must to maintain a healthy compost ecosystem. To increase the nitrogen component in the compost pile, you can add additional amounts of coffee grounds and grass clippings. So the more you add coffee grounds and grass clippings, the nitrogen component in the compost pile will increase. So here you can see that I've added semi-decomposed kitchen waste. So semi-decomposed products really stink. So if at all you have a very bad smell in your compost pile, that means there is a lot of nitrogen components in excess of the carbon components. So you can add additionally newspapers, cardboard clippings, wood shavings, any kind of bark that you have. You can use all these components to increase the carbon element in the compost pile, thereby reducing the stench. So as a matter of fact, you cannot use any cooked kitchen matter or oily kitchen waste. Firstly, the oil will be detrimental to the compost worms, and cooked items could attract rodents. You can use curd or any other milk products, but the thing is that you would be attracting rodents. However, adding milk or curd products would definitely introduce some healthy bacteria or microorganisms that would initiate or fasten the composting process. You can also add animal manure like goat manure, cow dung, which is easily available, but make sure that you do not add the excreta of carnivorous animals like cats, dogs, etc. This would increase the chances of their disease spreading to the food chain. So after adding all the components into the compost bin, what you need to do is you can add a little bit of water, and you need to keep checking the compost pile for extra wetness. So if at all your compost pile is extra wet, then you need to add little more carbon components so that it can absorb that excess water. Air is another very important component in the composting process. The more aeration a compost pile gets, the better compost yield it will give, and the faster it will compost as well. So if you have a tumbling type of compost bin, then it is really good because you can keep rotating it and you can aerate the entire compost pile. However, if you have an arrangement which is similar to this, then you can just toss and turn the pile with a long stick or a ladle. So folks, it is so very important to compost at home to reduce the pressure on our municipal landfills. And there is a small news. The BBMP has come up with a novel suggestion to encourage more households in Bangalore to compost. This they are doing by reducing the garbage cess for residents who compost. So if your house or your apartment complex is part of this composting revolution, then register yourself by adding your names and other details in the link given below. This is a registry maintained by the BBMP. So here I am adding some fresh homemade compost into this compost pile to kickstart the entire composting process. And now the only thing left is to add the third most important component of the composting process, that is water. And now we will be putting a lid on this compost bin and we will keep this under a shady location. Please do not expose your compost bins to full sunlight because the worms need a cooler area for them to survive and flourish. Otherwise, they will leave your compost pile and go. Or otherwise, you would be only left with those eerie looking maggots of the soldier fly. So it would approximately take a year to get a very good yield of compost. So with this, we have come to the end of the episode, and I hope that you would all start composting from today. So here it is, the much loved black gold, a gardener's biggest resource in keeping his garden and the world happy. So thank you for watching Urbanscape Bangalore, and if you liked this episode, then please do not forget to subscribe, like and share. And also do not forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook, the link to which will be provided. And if you are a Bangalore resident, then do not forget to fill in your details in the BBMP registry link below. Thank you and goodbye.